She said the baby was mine until the nurse asked why another man was listed as the father. My name is Jason, 31 years old. Emma and I have been married for almost 3 years. We're not rich, not perfect. But I used to think I was the luckiest man alive. I work as an IT engineer at a mid-sized company, decent salary, 8 hours a day, still enough energy afterward to cook and play games. Emma works in marketing for a local fashion brand, the kind of job where she has to attend events, take photos, meet clients, grab coffee with her team. The day Emma told me she was pregnant, I remember it clearly. She walked out of the bathroom holding a test strip, eyes red, lips trembling. Jason, 2 lines. For the first 3 seconds, I thought I misheard. When my brain finally caught up, I lifted her up and spun her around in our tiny apartment. Are you sure? I tested 3 times already. Good. Take a 4th one just to be sure. I laughed like an idiot. For the first 6 months of her pregnancy, I tried to be the best version of myself, learning pregnancy-safe recipes on YouTube, getting up every time she tossed and turned to massage her legs, reading books on raising boys. Though we didn't even know the baby's gender yet, Emma changed Hubert in a way that was hard to describe. She became more irritable, tired easily, cried over tiny things like when I placed a glass slightly off the coaster. At first I thought it was hormones, pregnancy, stress, so I endured it, stayed patient. Then a name started appearing more and more often. Dylan. Dylan was the new creative director at Emma's company, 2 years younger than me, but looked like an Instagram model. Gelled hair, full sleeve tattoos, accessories everywhere. Every time Emma mentioned him, the story grew a little longer. Dylan said today's concept was fire. Dylan thinks I have good taste. Dylan said after I get my body back, he'll give me a big campaign to shoot. I joked, hey, father of my child, you talk about this Dylan guy more than you talk about me. Emma laughed and tapped my shoulder. You're jealous. Don't worry, Dylan's a man-child type, not my type at all. I believed her, or I chose to believe her. At 7 months, Emma's belly was very noticeable. We started going to the hospital more often for checkups, a big maternity hospital, clean, modern. I made sure to take leave from work to go with her, carry her bag, get the queue number, wait patiently. One Monday morning we came in to register her expected hospitalization date. The doctor said Emma might deliver early, so it was best to prepare. I filled out the basic information. Mother's name, age, medical history, insurance, address. When it came to father information, I smiled and turned to Emma. I'll fill this part out. I remember my ID number better than you. I wrote, father's name, Jason Miller, date of birth, phone number, occupation, engineer, etc. The young nurse checked the form, typed into the system, then suddenly paused. Her brows drew together. Mr. Jason, she called. Yeah, I need to ask something. A bit sensitive. I thought it was something about insurance, so I stayed calm. Sure, go ahead. She turned the monitor toward me and pointed at a line. Father recorded Dylan Carter previously. During the first trimester checkup, Miss Emma wrote this man's name as the father. Now you filled in Jason Miller. I just need to confirm which one is correct so we can sync the information. In that moment, I heard my heartbeat change rhythm. I'm sorry. What did you say? I asked again, my voice suddenly dry. She panicked a little. I don't know your personal situation, but the system already had Dylan Carter from the weekend appointment. Today you wrote Jason Miller, so I need to clarify, otherwise the birth certificate could be incorrect. I turned to Emma. She was frozen, her face pale, her hand gripping her bag so hard her knuckles went white. Emma, I called softly. She swallowed, her lips trembling. Can we talk outside? The nurse sensed something was wrong, forcing a nervous smile. Why, yes, you two can discuss it and come back. I'll fix it afterward. I stood up, pushing my chair back. The screech against the floor sounded like it was ripping apart the last layer of calm I had left. Emma, I repeated, this time lower, heavier. I'm going to ask again. Why is Dylan listed as the father? Her eyes met mine, wet but refusing to let tears fall, and I understood this wasn't pregnancy hormones. This wasn't me being too sensitive. This was something I never imagined I would hear in my entire life. She whispered, Jason, I can explain. But to me the question had already grown far bigger than any explanation she could give. Emma and I walked out of the records room and sat down on the long bench in the hallway. People around us were still chatting, laughing, touching their pregnant bellies, taking check-in photos. Only I couldn't hear any of it anymore. I'm listening, I said, eyes fixed straight ahead, hands clasped tightly to keep them from shaking. Why is Dylan listed as the father in your medical record? Emma wiped her tears quickly, like she knew every extra second of silence made another piece of my trust crumble. That time, when I was late, I panicked, she began. I wasn't sure about anything. Dylan was the one who took me to the clinic that day. I was confused. The nurse asked quickly, and I accidentally said his name. Accidentally. I let out a laugh, but not the kind meant for jokes. Jason, please listen to me. Emma grabbed my arm. You were on a business trip, remember? I texted you saying I felt sick, and you told me you'd take me to the doctor the next morning. But that night I had stomach pain. I was scared it was ectopic pregnancy. So I called Dylan because he lived nearby and had a car. I remember, I nodded. I also remember you told me it was just a normal checkup. Yes, I didn't want you to worry. So I didn't explain clearly. When the nurse asked, "Father," I panicked. I didn't know what to say. Dylan was standing next to me. The nurse looked at him and typed his name in. Didn't correct her. She spoke while staring at her lap, unable to meet my eyes. "Just because you panicked." Emma nodded rapidly. "I was stupid, I know. I thought if you saw it later you'd overthink, so I meant to tell the nurse to change it. But at every appointment afterward, everything went so fast. I forgot. I didn't do it on purpose. Jason, I swear, I never slept with Dylan after you and I got married. You're the father, I'm sure." I stayed silent. A part of me wanted to cling to any tiny reason to believe this was just a chain of dumb decisions, not betrayal. But then my mind started replaying things. Emma coming home late, saying my team had to work overtime. Photos she posted from hotel elevators with captions like "work trip again." Times I offered to pick her up at her office and she said, "Don't. I feel awkward if coworkers see. Is Dylan the father of this baby?" Finally, I asked the one question both my brain and my heart were terrified of hearing the answer to. Emma jolted, eyes wide. "No. What's wrong with you? Why would you even think that?" "Because," I swallowed, "no one just randomly lets another man's name get written under father unless, somewhere in their mind, that possibility existed." She broke down crying, this time harder, more violently. "Jason, I was wrong not to fix the record. I really was stupid. But think about it. Since we got married, we've been together almost every night. When would I even have time to do what you're imagining?" I stared at her. Her logic sounded reasonable, but the feeling inside me refused to settle. "Have you ever slept with Dylan after we got married?" I asked slowly, separating each word. Emma hesitated. A very small pause, but enough. "Before the marriage," she finally said. "We had a short thing, a knowable relationship. I told you I had something casual with someone in the industry. Remember?" I remembered, but back then, she described that old fling like some silly, meaningless phase. She never once said it was Dylan. "So," I exhaled, "I married someone who still works with an ex I didn't even know the name or face of." "I was afraid you'd be uncomfortable," Emma whispered. "I've tried to keep boundaries with Dylan, I promise. He likes to go too far sometimes, Tucci. Puts his arm around people, but I always keep my distance." I remembered the event photos Emma posted publicly. Dylan with his arm around everyone, including Hershey, smiling brightly. I inhaled deeply. "All right," I said. "I'm not accusing you of anything right now, but I want one thing." "Anything," Emma said immediately, grabbing onto the chance like someone drowning finds a float. "We're doing a prenatal blood DNA test," I said plainly. "And if that doesn't work, then after the baby's born, I need certainty. Not because I want to run away from responsibility, but because I refuse to raise another man's child while you don't even have the courage to tell me the truth." Emma went pale. "Jason, you doubt me that much?" "No." I shook my head. "I don't doubt anymore. I need to know." She fell silent. Tears kept streaming. After a long moment, Emma nodded. "Okay, if that's what you need to trust me, we'll do it." We didn't do the prenatal DNA test right away. The doctor said it was expensive, carried a small risk, and advised waiting until the baby was born unless it was absolutely necessary. I agreed, partly because I didn't want anything to affect the baby, partly because I still wanted to believe Emma. The weeks that followed were a blur. I still took Emma to her checkups, still rubbed her belly, still talked to the baby through her skin. But there was always one question echoing in my head. What if the baby isn't mine? Emma, on the other hand, tried even harder to act normal, almost too normal, sending me photos of healthy meal prep, texting remember to drink water like I was the one carrying a baby, even suggesting, "After I give birth, let's stay at my parents' place for a few weeks so you won't have to do too much." That was the sentence that made my guard shoot back up. "Your parents' house?" "Yeah, my mom said it'd be better for the baby, and it's close to the hospital too, and close to Dylan's place." Emma froze. "Jason, you still haven't gotten over that." "I'm not yelling," I shrugged. "I'm just fitting the puzzle pieces together." Emma went into labor on a rainy day. Her water broke at 3 a.m. I grabbed the hospital bag and rushed her to the maternity ward. In the delivery room, she was in so much pain she could only groan, hair soaked in sweat. I held her hand, trying to push aside every dark question, and repeated, "Breathe. You can do this. I'm right here." The baby was born at almost 9 a.m. His first cry made my heart break again, but in a different way. The moment I saw him, I wanted to both hold him and run. A boy, big eyes, high nose, bridge, and especially soft brown wavy hair, nothing like mine, nothing like Emma's. A nurse brought him over for me to cut the umbilical cord. I looked at his tiny face, and all logic evaporated. "Hi," I whispered. "I'm Jason, or I hope I am." After the routine cleaning, weighing, and checks, Emma was moved to the recovery room. The doctor came in to congratulate us and handed me a paper. "You can sign here," he said. "This form allows cord tissue to be stored or used for future DNA testing if the family needs it. It's optional." I looked at Emma, she looked at me. Between us was a paper thin yet heavy as concrete. I agree, Emma said first. Do it, so you won't have to doubt anymore. I signed. 2 weeks later I got a call from the hospital while at work. Is this Jason? Yes, speaking. I'm calling from the lab. The DNA results between you and baby Noah are ready. Would you like them via secure email or pick them up in person? I swallowed hard. I'll come in person. That afternoon, I left work early and drove to the hospital in silence. It felt like waiting for university exam scores, except this time, I didn't know if I wanted to pass or fail. The technician met me in a small room. She handed me an envelope stamped confidential. You can read it here or take it home, she said. We're only allowed to hand it over, not explain. I sat down, opened it. The bold text hit me like a hammer. Probability of paternity, 0.0%. Conclusion, Jason Miller is excluded as the biological father of the child. I don't remember how long I sat there. When I finally stood, my legs didn't feel like mine. When I got home, Emma was breastfeeding Noah. The scene should have been the warmest moment of a family, but to me it looked like a beautifully constructed stage of lies. Where were you so long? Emma asked, forcing a smile. The hospital, I said, placing the envelope on the table. Picked up the results. She looked at it, her face palling. You opened it? Yes, I said. You should read it too. Emma set Noah in his crib and opened the paper with trembling hands. Her eyes scanned the lines of cold English text. When she reached 0.0%, she crushed the edge of the paper until it wrinkled. No, this can't be, she whispered. Jason. The hospital must have made a mistake. They mixed up the samples. Emma, I said, staring straight at her. Dylan is Noah's father, isn't he? For the first time since I met her, Emma couldn't pretend anymore. She sank into the chair. No crying, no denial, just a slow, tiny nod. Jason, I'm sorry. A sorry cheaper than the paper she was holding. After Emma confessed, everything felt strange. I didn't yell, I didn't smash anything. I didn't ask why. I only asked one question. How long? Emma closed her eyes. Before we got married. We slipped a few times, and I thought it was over. But, about 2 months before I told you I was pregnant, Dylan and I went on a business trip together. We drank. I thought it was just one stupid mistake and that was it. I swear I felt guilty after. When the test showed 2 lines, I panicked. I didn't know whose it was, but the chances it was yours were high. And the way you chose, I said, was to marry me in silence. Get pregnant in silence. Put my name on the paperwork, then keep sleeping next to me like nothing happened. I thought, if the baby looked like you, everything would be fine. And if it looked like Dylan, I didn't think that far. That was exactly the problem. Emma never thought about consequences, only her feelings in the moment. Do you love Dylan? No. She shook her head over and over. I love you. Dylan was just a mistake. I don't think Dylan sees you as a mistake, I said, letting out a cold laugh. I think to him, you're just another trophy. Right then, Emma's phone buzzed on the table. The name on the screen. Dylan Work. I picked it up before she could grab it. Hello, I said. The line went quiet for a second. Then a mocking male voice came through. Emma, I'm guessing you're holding my son right now. Does he look like me yet? I felt my stomach twist. I stayed silent for a beat, then replied, no, you're talking to Jason. The other end went dead. Oh, Dylan finally said. Bro, chill. I was just joking. I said, my voice eerily calm even to myself. The DNA test says I'm not Noah's father. And you call him your son on the phone. You think that's a fun way to joke with someone else's wife? Dylan muttered a curse under his breath, then switched to defensive mode. Look, we didn't mean to ruin your life. Emma told me you were the safer option. She needed a stable husband. I was just a drunk mistake. Emma sobbed. Dylan, stop. I didn't tell him to stop. I let him continue, because every word was another slap to everything Emma tried to hide. You don't get it, Dylan went on. Nice guys like you always think you're the victim. You've got a stable job, a house. You'd make a good dad. Emma's not gonna leave you. At worst, you'd raise someone else's kid for a bit. Real men don't nitpick this stuff. I laughed. A strangely peaceful kind of laugh. Thank you, I said. You've helped me make up my mind much faster. I hung up, placed the phone gently on the table. Emma collapsed at my feet, clutching my leg. Jason, don't leave me. I was stupid, selfish, greedy, but I love you. I don't love Dylan. Don't let one mistake ruin everything, Emma. I cut her off. This isn't one mistake. This is a whole chain of choices. You chose to sleep with him. You chose to hide it. You chose to stay silent when the nurse wrote his name. You chose to let me believe I was the father. You chose to let him joke about his son right in front of me. All of that isn't a stumble. It's a path you walked. She clung to my arm, crying until she hiccuped. I'll cut him off. I'll switch jobs. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't leave. Noah needs you. I need you. The sentence Noah needs you was the final straw. No, I said. Noah needs his real father, not a man who was lied to from the moment his name went on the birth certificate. I'm not going to fight for the title of dad with a guy who calls the baby his trophy over the phone. That night I packed my things in silence. Emma clung to every shirt, every pair of pants, every sock, but I kept closing the suitcase. Where are you going? To stay with a friend for now. And Noah, aren't you going to say goodbye? I looked at the crib. The baby was sleeping, fists curled, little lips softly pressed together. It's not his fault, I said, but I need to leave before this wound turns me into someone I won't recognize. I filed for divorce 2 weeks after receiving the DNA results. My lawyer didn't sugarcoat anything. You have no financial obligation to the baby. You have the right to refuse being listed on the birth certificate. As for your wife, we'll treat this like a standard divorce, division of assets, if you want. Emma signed surprisingly fast. Maybe she knew she had no chance of pulling me back anymore. Throughout the process, countless people tried to interfere. Emma's mother called crying. My daughter was wrong, but what about Noah? The baby is innocent. Emma's friend texted, you're really going to destroy a child's life just because of your male ego. My coworker said, you're free now. Don't let them bleed you for anything else. To all of them I replied with the same sentence. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm just stepping out of a role I was never told the true script for. After the divorce, I moved out of the apartment we once lived in. I relocated to a different city, took a remote job, and focused on work and therapy. 2 years later, I'm 33 now, not the naive man who once thought love alone was enough. I started dating again, with Hannah, a head nurse at the hospital in my new city. Ironically, she was the first person to tell me DNA doesn't lie, but emotions do a lot. Don't let your emotions drag you back to people who showed you they aren't worth it. We're not rushing into marriage, but we're brutally honest with each other. No hidden passwords, no mysterious schedules, no close coworkers the other person has never met. One Friday evening, while I was cooking at Hannah's place, my phone buzzed. New email. Subject line, from Emma about Noah. I stared at the screen for a few seconds. Then I opened it. ***, Jason. I know I have no right to ask you anything. Noah is almost 2 now. Every time I look at him I remember you, the person I should have been honest with from the start. Dylan is gone. He moved to another city last year and hasn't sent a cent in support. I sued, but he keeps delaying. I'm not writing this to ask for money. I just want to say you'll always be the man I wish Noah would grow up to resemble. If one day you want to meet him, I won't stop you. If you never want to, I'll understand. I'm sorry. I know this sentence means nothing, but I still have to say it. Emma ***. I read it a few times. The anger wasn't there anymore. Just a kind of tired sadness. Hannah walked over and saw my face. Email from her. Yeah, I nodded. She says, Dylan disappeared. If she's raising Noah alone, how do you feel? I don't know. I feel bad for the kid, but I'm not part of that anymore. Hannah stayed quiet for a moment, then asked softly, do you want to reply? I opened a new email, placed my fingers on the keyboard, in the end. I wrote, ***, Emma. I don't hate Noah. I never have, and I never will. But I'm not his spiritual father or a backup dad. You chose to begin his life with a lie. I choose not to continue being part of that lie. I hope you do well as his mother. Don't use him as a way to reclaim anything already lost. I've forgiven you in the sense that I no longer carry you with me. But forgiveness doesn't mean going back, or staying entangled. I wish you and Noah peace. Jason ***. I hit send. Closed the laptop. Hannah placed her hand on my back, leaning her head on my shoulder. You okay? I exhaled deeply. For the first time in a long while, the weight on my chest felt lighter. Yeah, I said. I'm okay, you know. I used to think being a father meant signing a birth certificate, cutting an umbilical cord, staying up at night changing diapers. Now I understand being a father also means taking responsibility for how a child's life begins, whether with truth or with lies. I couldn't change how Noah's life began, but I can choose not to keep participating in the lie. Hannah smiled, and someday if you want to be a father, you'll get the chance to do it from the beginning, the right way. I looked at her, at the small kitchen, the pot simmering on the stove, the baby chair she bought for the future. For the first time, when I thought about the word father, I didn't see a negative DNA result in my mind. Instead, I felt something lighter, cleaner. Emma was right about one thing. The child is innocent, but that doesn't mean I have to sacrifice the rest of my life for mistakes that weren't mine. She chose someone else's name to be the father in the system. And today, I finally chose to remove myself from that story firmly, but peacefully.